Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In 2015, Nova Scotians were horrified to learn that a victim of sexual violence was forced to wait 3 days for a sexual assault nurse examiner team to travel from Antigonish to New Glasgow. To make that awful story go away, this government told Nova Scotians not to worry. They were investing $700,000 to expand the sexual assault nurse examiner program to Cape Breton in the South Shore. Nova Scotians trusted this government to keep its word to them and to survivors of sexual assault, but the trust was misplaced, Mr. Speaker. More than 3 years later, the same program has not been established in Cape Breton. Mr. Speaker, it's 3 years. Why hasn't the minister followed through on the promise to provide these crucial services to the people of Cape Breton Island?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the member for raising the question. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, we've been following through with this commitment to expand SANE services, and the member's preambles made reference to New Glasgow. I had a meeting earlier this week with the Antigonish Women's Resource Centre, which provides SANE services in the Antigonish and surrounded areas, including coordinating the services out of the New Glasgow region. Mr. Speaker, it was a very positive meeting. They appreciate the work that we're providing and the support that I've provided both as MLA, Mr. Speaker, advocating on their behalf long before I came into this position. The work for expansion in the SANE services, just as recently as last week, program was launched in, I believe, the Yarmouth community. Work is ongoing. As the Premier said in an earlier question, it takes time to get people the training that they need to fulfill the requirements and deliver those services.
The Honourable Member for Cape Breton Richmond.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to take this opportunity to remind the Minister that New Glasgow is not on Cape Breton Island. 3 years ago, women were forced to wait days for a SANE examination. That is a situation that never should have been allowed to happen, Mr. Speaker. But, Mr. Speaker, things have become even worse. Very recently, we learned that a young woman who has been sexually assaulted was turned away from a hospital, having been given only some pamphlets. Not medical advice, not an offer of a SANE examination. All our system could provide her was a few pieces of glossy paper. Mr. Speaker, how can Nova Scotians trust this minister to ensure victims of sexual assault get the care they need when they already let them down on a promise of a SANE program on Cape Breton Island?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as I've mentioned, work is continuing with our partners throughout the province, expanding these services. Mr. Speaker, to the specific case that the member referenced about obtaining SANE services, obviously this program is relatively new in the history of the province. I want to assure her and all members of this legislature and the members of the public that having an assessment can be provided within hospitals throughout the province. Certainly there are enhanced services provided by SANE, the sexual assault nurse examiners, and that work is going to continue with these expansions, including Cape Breton, the South Shore, and as we've mentioned, Northern Shore as well.